Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Lowe's knows how to help make your home holiday ready for less. Get Select Style Selections vinyl flooring for just $1.99 per square foot and have it installed before the festivities begin. Our team can help you every step of the way. See a Lowe's Red Vest associate or visit Lowe's.com/holiday install to get started. Lowe's, we help, you save. Basic install only. Date restrictions apply. Subject to availability. Installed by independent contractors. See associate for details. Contiguous U.S. only.
So what does theurgical magic, 9/11, Charlie Kirk, and the Ukrainian girl, and so many other things have in common? Stay tuned. You're about to find out. Our top 3 stories of the week, Friday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, Pilgrims Grey Chronicles.
You're listening to Pilgrims Grey Chronicles, top 3 stories of the week. The world's gone strange, but we love a good peek. From shadows deep to the global stage, we bring the truth from age to age. With harmony bold and a skeptical tone, we dig up the news they don't want known. So stoke the fire and have a seat. This week's top 3 can't be beat. Pilgrims Grey Chronicles.
All right, another Friday night, folks, at the Inn, Pilgrims Grey Chronicles. We have an interview with Doug Hamp coming up this Monday. Just got to fuse it all together and do some edits this weekend, but it's a beautiful thing. Doug is an incredibly intelligent man and great scholar, Hebrew scholar, and I think you're really going to be interested to hear what he has to say about his new book, God's Divorce, and what he has to say about all the things surrounding it, because I know the first thought that comes to people's minds is this replacement theology? And so, and by the way, you'll have to watch to find out what he has to say about it, right? And if you want to support us, because we could use all the help in the world since we're being throttled, share this, like this, comment, and let's beat the algorithm. So tired of them browbeating us down because we mentioned some things they don't like, and suddenly your outreach is dead. So you guys hit it up, share it with everybody you can think of. I'm going to find different ways to support. I take everybody's ways that they support us, whether it's by purchasing merchandise or anything you do goes right back into the show. I just put it right back on. If you wind up buying one of the books that I sometimes put in the description that I get a commission off of, I put it right back into the show. I'll either buy new equipment or do anything. I'm just right now just building the show and putting it out there for as many people to hear it as is humanly possible. And kind of one of the reasons I'm asking it for it to be shared now is it just frosts me, this whole restricting of, if they don't like something you said like a while back, I mentioned the USS Liberty. I mentioned, certain people's names, certain countries, what they do, what kind of things they use to circumvent the law, to be involved with trafficking, both drugs, people. Anyway, you can just look through my stuff and see what I'm talking about, and you really do wind up getting in trouble, because I was rocketing up, and now suddenly it's just flatlined. So I guess I should just be glad that I'm not super high profile, because I guess worse things can happen to you, right? So anyway, I really appreciate all your support. For all of you who comment, for all of you who like things, and you're already doing it, great. If you're new, support, We all put a lot of work into these shows that we put out there for you, and we could always use the support, even if it's just an encouraging word. In fact, I love encouraging words. And some of my regular supporters, I even do special things for you. I need to get with a couple other ones, just because they're so supportive, and I can feel their prayers, and I really appreciate it. So, what do I mean by theurgical magic? Well, let me give you a definition of it, because for our top 3 stories of the week, I want to cover this particular aspect because it's important. Because, we cover the seed war here, and we know that we're not just dealing with, geo world politic events. We know there's powers and principalities behind everything. And there has been for some time. If you're a Bible believing Christian, you know as well as I do that the king of Tyre wasn't just a human. Yes, it describes a human at first, but then we get right into what is really behind that king. The king is either avatared, controlled by, possessed, or is that spirit in the flesh taking on some form that appears human, but they are not. Something along those lines. And so don't think that that's not still happening today. I mean, we're even told in the book of Hebrews that you may be entertaining angels unaware. So there's no reason that some of your more high-profile politicians could not be either rebellious sons of God or one of their offspring, or they may just be fully human adherents to them. But if they're on the world stage, chances are they're not on your side. I know that's hard to believe, that some of these people who look so great and are doing grand things are not on your side, but they're probably not. So let's get into this. Theurgy, it's a Greek word meaning God work, and it refers to ritualistic practices designed to invoke or align with divine or supernatural beings, especially in order to ascend spiritually or affect change in the spiritual and or physical realm. So unlike sorcery, Gotia, which tries to command spirits for personal gain, theurgy is about working with higher spiritual entities. But this often means fallen angels, rebellious little g gods, or, as the Theosophists say, ascended masters or secret chiefs in esoteric systems. And it is central to Hermeticism, Neoplatonism, Gnostic, and Kabbalah, Kabbalistic orders, ritual magic systems like the Golden Dawn, the OTO, and Thelema. And these are the very systems that infiltrated Western mystery schools, elite societies, and eventually global institutions and pop culture. So, how does theurgical magic tie into 9/11 and some of these other events that are going on, right? Because I think one of the major workings of theurgical magic took place during 9/11. So a lot of researchers, you may have heard some of them, William Cooper, Michael Hoffman, and others, of course. There's been many people who've tried to warn us of such things. And anyway, they've proposed that 9/11 was not just a geopolitical false flag, but also a high ritual act of theurgical magic. And here's how. Symbolism and ritual timing of all of these things. The Twin Towers symbolize the pillars of Jachin and Boaz, key elements in occult Freemasonry. We've gone over that before in our Committee of 300 video. You can look it up, why that's symbolic for them and why it's important. So the event occurred during key celestial alignments and coincided with occult numerology, right? 11, 77, 93, and 322. If you don't know why those numbers are important, I'm telling you, you need to go look them up right now and check it out. I don't have time to go into it because Friday night show is meant to be short, and I haven't been spending as much time with family and my wife as I should be, so I'm trying to make it a little shorter because family is everything, right? God, family, and you all are family too, but not in the same way. So I still want to do the show, but I gotta try to keep these things within their respected time limits. You get what I mean? And then the date, 9/11 echoes the emergency, right? But also the idea of a spiritual reset that initiated a new phase in global consciousness and power structure, right? And then we have the alchemy of destruction, right? And we went over alchemy just a couple weeks ago uh, with John Daniel's article. Great article. Again, check out his stuff. Anyway, the act itself mimics ritual destruction and rebirth, a common theme in alchemy and theurgy. So the collapse of the towers, the old order, right, paved the way for a new spiritual and political architecture, right? For instance, the Patriot Act, our surveillance state, and it's going to get way worse soon, and globalist convergence. That was some of their primary aim, and I would say they were highly effective in achieving it. And then invoking principalities. And this is huge because this is what you don't see with the eye. You see the impact of it in the physical world, but you can't. Most of us are incapable of seeing into this world with our physical eyes. But in occult practice, mass ritual trauma can act as a conduit to charge a desired spell or invocation, if you want to call it that, but what they're trying to achieve. Okay? And many believe 9/11 was designed to open spiritual gateways, invoking fallen powers under the guise of unity, patriotism, or justice. And this is why things like never forget, right? Remember that? That was plastered everywhere. And in some ways we shouldn't forget. I get that. But remember, it's more than a slogan to these people. It becomes a mimetic ritual, and it keeps the psychic trauma fresh for continuous manipulation from their point of view. Does that make sense to you? I'm not saying you shouldn't forget. We should remember loved ones and what happened, but remember it in the right sense. Remember it the way God would want you to, and don't be traumatized. And don't let them drive you into being anxious and fearful, because God does not want you to be that way, and that is not His Spirit causing it. And let's rely on His Spirit and prayer to overcome that. So let's look at theurgical magic in our time, right? We are now seeing the continuation of that ritual system evolving into AI omnipresence, right? We've all talked about this hive mind that this is going to be turned into, so that the main adversary, the architect of all this, can mimic and be like the Most High. He is not capable of doing it himself. He is not able to be omnipresent or omniscient, but if he creates a hive mind through AI, he can be like it, like the Most High. And so, we have a false god being formed from code, right? With Palantir, GPT-style systems, and predictive surveillance right at the center. And then we have climate rituals and eco-mysticism, calls for global sacrifice, right? Reduce our carbon footprint, mirrored after ancient offering to elemental spirits. It's just in a more newfangled high-tech way. But it's still the same old gods. And then gender confusion and post-human identity. The breaking of the image of God in the human being, right? And it's just as the Nephilim tried to do before. Well, really their parents. And they set their children up as tyrants to rule the earth, to replace us. It did not work. And neither did their attempts at a golden age afterwards to redo it through Babylon. It didn't work in Canaan either. It didn't work with Rome. It didn't work with Alexander the Great. It didn't work with any of these attempts over and over and over again by them to fool us into having our, I always call it the Novus Ordo Seclorum because it's on our money and it's what they want. A new order of the ages for us to be united here on earth in a way that the rebellious angel gods want, in opposition to the one true Father in heaven. And it's in direct contrast to what he has said that we're supposed to be doing. Like right from the get-go, right? Babel. We were supposed to go out into the world and be good stewards of it and multiply. But instead, we decided to make a name for ourselves right there in the plains of Shinar and didn't go anywhere. So he had to disperse us for a number of different reasons, but that is one of them. We were directly being confrontational with God again, just like we were before the flood. And of course, the Lord chose Abram out of that to create a people peculiar to himself, which later became Israel, and which we are now a part of as Gentiles or Christians, because there is no more Jew or Gentile. We have Israel. Christ's body, the church, his bride, and we're all incorporated into that. I know there is an Israel that exists, and I believe that is to do with prophecy. I believe that we should help them when they are doing what is right, just like we should any nation. But I don't think we should bless everything based off of some misunderstanding of the blessing and curse mentioned in, to Abraham and his offspring. Okay. But I think most thinking people realize this. Obviously not all, because we have Senator Ted Cruz making ridiculous statements and not really fully understanding what he's saying. And we get into some of that with the Doug Hamp interview, and I think Doug does an incredibly good job of articulating a good biblical position on that. So make sure you check that out Monday night at 9.
Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Attention all small biz owners. At the UPS Store, you can count on us to handle your packages with care. With our certified packing experts, your packages are properly packed and protected. And with our pack and ship guarantee, when we pack it and ship it, we guarantee it. Because your items arrive safe or you'll be reimbursed. Visit the upsstore.com/guarantee for full details. Most locations are independently owned. Product services, pricing, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Be unstoppable. Come into your local store today.
And so then we also have celestial alignments and timed global events, such as Operation Rising Lion during Mars and Leo, and military parades tied to astronomical symbolism. I don't believe in astrology, but I do believe in God's Mazzaroth because he mentions it. And we know that he provided these things for us to keep track of things like this. I think that knowledge has all but been lost. And what we should do now is just pray to the Lord for discernment and wisdom. But I think there could be people who the Lord has given that bent to be able to understand such things. And if so, just make sure that whatever you involve yourself with can be shown to be proper from Scripture. If it's contradicting it, or if you're getting involved in the Egyptian forms or Babylonian forms of astrology and so on, then I would say drop it like a hot potato. But anyway, so really theurgy never disappears. It just went mainstream, and the architects behind it are crafting a new world order, not just through politics, but through spiritual ritual disguised as progress. And unlike theurgical systems that require initiation, ritual, and sacrifice, the gospel of Christ is open, free, and final. Right? 2 Corinthians 11, 13, and 14 say, "For such are false apostles, deceitful workers transforming themselves into apostles of Christ, and no wonder, for Satan himself transforms into an angel of light." So where theurgy seeks ascent through gnosis, or knowledge, and ritual, Christ descended to conquer sin and death, and no ritual can match the power of the blood of Christ. So that's an important distinction. So now we have some current events that I believe stem from all of this and are a continuation of the theurgical magic opened since 9/11. For instance, a shooting at the Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis, where we had 2 children killed and a bunch of people injured during a mass at a Catholic school. And we have the recent fatal stabbing of the Ukrainian girl, a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee, right, while on a Charlotte light rail. And then the biggest story that we're all familiar with, and it is inundating all social media, which I understand, is Charlie Kirk, conservative political figure, was shot and killed at a public event at Utah Valley University. So the thing is, when we're talking about theurgical magic or ritual magic using real spiritual forces, often invoking responses from principalities, demonic powers, or angels, fallen angels, whatever, the key effect is mass spiritual psychological trauma. And here's how that plays out. Trauma scars collective memory. It intensifies fear, confusion, anger, and submission. Now, whether the event is fully genuine, partially staged, or amplified via media doesn't really always matter. What all that matters is the impact on public consciousness. That is what they are shooting for. So such events can act as focal points, amplifying spiritual forces, right? Our principalities and demonic realms, rebellious angels that feed off of fear, division, and chaos and can utilize it. So a real stabbing, a real shooting, especially in sacred spaces like churches or schools, are raw material. If media or elite interests then amplify them, tie them into polarized narratives for race, politics, and religion, then they become part of ritual architecture, whether or not every detail is genuine. And I say that because none of us really know fully what's going on with the Charlie Kirk thing, do we? I mean, I've heard so many things. I've heard he was put on a plane that took off 10 minutes later. I've seen the pictures of him being rushed into, the getaway vehicle to get him to the hospital. I've heard, many, many crazy things. And I don't want to go into all of them. But all that matters is the trauma that is generated from it, really. I mean, it's not all that matters. It'll also be used for other things, just like 9/11 was used to bring about the Patriot Act and an elimination of the Bill of Rights, really, whenever they need it. I've explained what I mean by that before, but I don't want to go into it right now because this will be too long. But we have the school shooting, right, that injects collective fear into Christian communities and weakens their sense of safety and turning worship spaces into contested ground, right? So a lot of high symbolic impact in doing something like that. A place of innocence, children, worship, and it's violated. And then with the stabbing, right? And it symbolizes insecurity and fear, strangers among us kind of narratives, and the randomness of it adds to the sense that danger is everywhere. So be anxious and fearful, and even places we assume are safe are not. And that breeds vigilance, fear, desperation, and it makes a fertile soil for control systems being sold as protection, just like the Patriot Act. So what I kind of see coming up is massive surveillance. That's what they'll push. to protect us, of course. Peace and safety, right? Peace and safety is coming up. That's what you got. And then the Charlie Kirk assassination, a prominent conservative, caught in violence at a rally. It has massive symbolic value, and it polarizes politics even more, right? It amplifies the culture war. It reminds people that ideology has real stakes. And you know what? When I first saw it take place, the first things that I saw being reported, besides just the event, what I saw was a lot of controlled opposition people talking about civil war, and this is the shot heard around the world, and we need to retaliate, and all of this, stirring up dissension, stirring up anger, stirring up retaliation and vengeance, and all of that is supposed to belong to the Lord. We should be praying and let the Lord handle it. Now, if the Lord tells us to do other things besides praying, great. Get out there and speak your mind. Be another truth teller. Be an engager in a way that God would want you to do. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's the important thing, right? Not going out and doing stupid, violent things that the Lord would not want you to do. Unless you have to defend yourself. I mean, that's completely different. So, for those who believe in sacrifice, martyrdom, this is something that can totally be framed spiritually by the adversary, right? Wars of ideology, spiritual conflict, just as much as it is political. This is a perfect weapon for them to make so much division, so much division. And I've got some clips I'm going to show you. Let's see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. Wait, no, maybe more, maybe less than that. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. So I need to shut my mouth and get moving here, because they're not all long. Most of them are anywhere from 40 seconds to at most 3 minutes. So the thing is, like I said, some of these things could be staged. We just don't know. There's no way for us to 100% know. I know they say they caught the guy and he allegedly confessed to a family member, but we also know how much the people in charge lie, right? And there's no way to confirm. And that's part of the problem of today's society. Jesus did warn us, let no man deceive you, because obviously he knew that this was going to be a time of incredible deception, and you can't trust or believe anybody. And we need to check everything out. And I say all the time, you don't have to believe me either. And I don't want you to necessarily. I think you should check the information I'm providing. You should check the information anybody provides you. Don't just be a headline person, dig and make sure you're getting good data. If something doesn't sound right, go look into it and find out for yourself. So with this kind of thing, we have media amplification, right? You get these video clips, graphic images, emotional interviews, and they all magnify the effect of what you just witnessed beyond the event itself, right? And even if some details are exaggerated or curated, they serve a larger narrative of psychological trauma for the masses. I think they began testing this all the way back as far as the War of the Worlds thing that was broadcast on radio. People freaked out. And I think that was one of the first tests from the information they probably drew from Operation Paperclip. And so then we have elite symbolism. If events are titled, or located in symbolic places like churches, schools, staged rallies, they can be chosen for spiritual resonance by these people, right? Like the 9/11 thing with the Twin Towers, or large crowds, or symbolic figures speaking at the time. And then we have, of course, false flags or provocations, right? Events that provoke overreaction or policy change, or that's what they're shooting for. And more surveillance, stricter laws, increased security, erosion of freedoms. And these can be planned or manipulated even after the fact. In fact, they almost always are. And then we have ritualistic language by commentators and politicians. We must unify. We must restore order, protect innocent children, right? They used the language like a spell on you to work on your emotions to achieve whatever their goal was before the event even occurred, usually. That's why they're able to do this so fast.
Lowe's knows how to get you ready for holiday hosting with up to 35% off select home decor. And get up to 35% off select major appliances. Plus, members get free delivery, haul away, basic installation, parts, and a 2-year Lowe's protection plan when you spend $2,500 or more on select LG major appliances. Valid through 10/1. Member offer excludes Massachusetts, Maryland, Wisconsin, New Jersey, and Florida. Installed by independent contractors. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for more details. Lowe's knows how to help make your home holiday ready for less. Get select style selections vinyl flooring for just $1.99 per square foot and have it installed before the festivities begin. Our team can help you every step of the way. See a Lowe's Red Vest associate or visit Lowe's.com/holiday install to get started. Lowe's, we help, you save. Basic install only. Date restrictions apply. Subject to availability. Installed by independent contractors. See associate for details. Contiguous U.S. only.
I'm sure many of us have seen the book on Amazon that was all about the shooting of Charlie Kirk, released on September 9th. And, I know a little bit about, I have authored some of my own things like my book, and I know it takes a few days, anywhere from 3 to 10 days before something's even released once you submit it. So it's been around for a bit, right? So even if it says that it went for sale on Amazon on the 9th, of course, when you click on it, it's been scrubbed now, but it says for sale, on the 9th. It was probably submitted and released or whatever, like 3 or 4 days before it. So just so you know, at least that's been my observation. Maybe some people can go and directly have their book promoted and up and running the same day. But I think if you were to ask any author out there, there's a process and it takes a bit. Even with like the music I submit to Spotify or whatever, it takes a day or two for it all to get up and be properly on the site and your lyrics synced and all that stuff. It doesn't just happen instantly. It takes a while. And so what should we be watching for? Well, first, we shouldn't necessarily dismiss everything as fake, right? But learn to discern the layers of deception. What's verifiable? What is suspected? How the narrative is being shaped, and what you think they might be going for with it, right? I think part of it is whatever they can do to bring about more surveillance. If that means using bots on social media and their powerful controlled opposition people, like I've already seen Media Wars and Alex Jones talking about Civil War. I don't think that's healthy, but I think they want to push that kind of thing because it can, when they bring out the surveillance state, you won't be as likely to be, hey, well, what's going on? I got cameras everywhere watching us. Facial recognition. I got to use facial recognition to shop at Walmart now. So just mark my words, it's coming. It's going to be worse than 1984 by George Orwell, I have a feeling. And then always observe who benefits from the trauma, right? New laws, increased surveillance, politicization, new policies. That is a synthesis following the Hegelian dialect usually. And they know these things are coming. I mean, it doesn't take much looking into some of these things to figure out that things don't smell right. And then a spiritual focus. For believers, remember your identity is not defined by fear or trauma. And quit feeling so much fear. I know there's lots of crazy things going on in the world, but God did not intend for you to be fearful or traumatized by it. Right? He wants you to have faith and to be strong. Right? Like he told Joshua, be very courageous. And Scripture steers us towards hope, right? Spiritual authority and resistance. And then prepare mentally and spiritually, including limited exposure to trauma media. Find out what you need to find out about it and then stop. Don't let them keep pounding it into your head. You don't have to watch the video where blood comes spurting out of his neck. You don't have to see it. It's all meant to traumatize anyway. And then be praying and building community, right? And keeping truth in focus. And that's really what's important. So I would say that even if one of these events were partially exaggerated or glommed onto by media, the spirit world watches, fear rises, division deepens, they love to show themselves as saviors, offering security, law, and safety, all under the guise of rescue, right? That's what they try to do. And we need to not be naive, but also not be fear moved. The gospel has always been about darkness turned into light, evil schemes exposed, believers standing firm in faith. It's not new. We've even had people martyred for all over the place. Not just in the New Testament. There's people still being martyred today all over the globe. I know many people will see this as martyrdom for Charlie Kirk. It's part of the seed war. The currents are real, but so is the power of the one who holds even the darkest night in his hands, and he will crush it when he's ready and protect you in the meantime.
Trying to lose weight? It's time to try Hers. At forhers.com/4u, you can access affordable, doctor-trusted weight loss treatments tailored just for you. These include oral medication kits or compounded GLP-1 injections. Through Hers, pricing for oral medication kits start at just $69 a month for a 10-month plan when paid in full upfront. No hidden fees, no membership fees. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. Hers brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatment plans that put your goals first. Reach your weight loss goals with help through Hers. Get started at forhers.com/4u to access affordable, doctor-trusted weight loss plans. That's forhers.com/4u, forhers.com/4u. Paid for by Hims and Hers Health. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions at forhers.com apply. Weight loss solutions are not one size fits all. Hers makes it simpler to get started and stick with a weight loss plan, backed by expert-guided online care that puts your weight loss goals first. These include oral medication kits or compounded GLP-1 injections. Through Hers, pricing for oral medication kits start at just $69 a month for a 10-month plan when paid in full upfront. No hidden fees, no membership fees. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. Hers brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatment plans that put your goals first. Reach your weight loss goals with help through Hers. Get started at forhers.com/4u to access affordable, doctor-trusted weight loss plans. That's forhers.com/4u, forhers.com/4u. Paid for by Hims and Hers Health. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions at forhers.com apply.
When the worst that can happen is death, right? And then you're with him. So there is that. Now let's go over, shall we, some of these videos. I wanted to share this one because I thought this was, I've been watching many of the Charlie Kirk videos, and I found this one to be particularly moving. And I have to say, I was familiar with Charlie Kirk's debates and some of the things. I always thought he was really brave, challenging things. Him and some of his other friends. And I mean, it's really bold and brave to do something like that. You have to be courageous to step out. And I know there's a lot of thought out there that he is controlled, that he was a Mason, and all these things. And I get all that. And I'm not saying that they are true or that they're not true. But I would say this, just like Paul not commended, but he mentions that there were some preaching the name of Jesus for reasons that weren't good, right? But what did Paul care about? He didn't care about the motive necessarily of what these others were doing. What he cared about was that the name of Jesus Christ is being preached. And I watched a lot of what Charlie Kirk did, and I would have to say that in many cases, though I don't necessarily agree with everything he said, that oftentimes when I heard him speak about Jesus Christ, I thought he did a very good job. He gave a clear message of who Jesus Christ is. And most of the ones I watched. Now there might be other ones where maybe he didn't. I don't know, but the ones that I watched were really well done. With that being said, I'm going to blow this screen up here so you can see it better. Kaboom. And make sure my levels are up because I don't want to screw that up and, like I did with the microphone last time where I had 0 recording. All right, here we go.
First, I want you to know I'm fine, not because my body is fine, but because my soul is secure in Christ. Death is not the end. It's a promotion. Don't waste 1 second mourning me. I knew the risks of standing up in this cultural moment, and I'd do it all over again. Second, do not let this violence divide us further. The enemy wants chaos, fear, and retaliation. Don't give it to them. Instead, double down on truth. Double down on courage. Double down on your faith and on your families. That is how you honor me. Third, remember this. America is worth it. Free speech is worth it. Fighting for the unborn, for families, for sanity in a culture gone mad, it is all worth it. So dry your tears, pick up your cross, and get back in the fight. Do it with joy, do it with strength, and never ever let evil think it won.
That's interesting. I don't know that that's exactly everything Charlie Kirk would have said according to AI. And I kind of agree with this guy here who says, dude, this is kind of horrifying. I don't know if I like it. Good message or not, it perverts Charlie's message in a way. It's probably not wrong, but still, it's an algorithmic, soulless message. Yeah, I mean, I get that. I see that. But I do think that it's important that we take positives out of things and not let them traumatize us. And there were some other things I wanted to say about that where I felt like really God would have been mentioned more in Jesus rather than the patriotism and all that, although I think it did a pretty good job of both. And then I wanted to share this one. This one's about a little over a minute long, but I wanted you to hear this too.
For those of you that are not yet believers, it's very simple. You're going to have a court date, we all die, and you're all going to meet the supreme judge of the universe. Justice is getting what you deserve, which is going to a not so good place. We're all sinners, and we all fall short of the glory of God. But thanks to the cross, a perfect, loving God who came down in human form, human flesh, lived a perfect life and died for us so that we can live forever. At that moment, we're about to get that sentencing into eternal damnation. Somebody says, no, I know him. I know her. Welcome to eternal life. You have an opportunity. The gospel in 4 words is Jesus took my place. 3 words is him for me. 2 words is substitutionary atonement, and 1 word is grace. Grace, you cannot earn. Grace, you do not pay for. It doesn't matter how much money you give to the hospital. You can't earn it. It doesn't matter if you're a good person. It doesn't matter if you have always done the best you can, because what's different about Christianity is that it's a gift for all of humanity to receive regardless of everything that we have done. And your life will be transformed. You will be born again. Grace is not earned. It is given by a God who loves you and wants to spend eternity with you. It is the most important decision you can make in your life. Here I am. God bless you guys. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I completely concur with that. I don't have a problem with that. And I think that's wonderful that he had an outreach where he could say something like that and to a lot of people. And now this is an interesting one because when I looked into this, I came to the same conclusion that the fact hunter, George Hobbs, who's instrumental in why I'm even doing this podcast to begin with, he really encouraged me to even do it. And so here I am doing it. And before I even listened to his podcast, I had already come to a similar conclusion in that I think this could very well be a case in where don't bite the hand that feeds you because it can take you out. Now, whether the takeout was real or staged or whatever, we'll never know for decades, just like with JFK. We were all sold lies. And if you don't think your government lies to you and could be lying even in this moment, then you're just naive. And I would tell you, I'll show you I got a few videos just to illustrate that point towards the end here that you might not have seen. And maybe you'll find it interesting, maybe you won't. But let's listen to this guy right here, because I think he's kind of onto something, though I don't necessarily agree with everything he said. And no audio, so let's restart that and put some audio.
Way too soon to even talk about something like this, but I think the American public deserves to know the truth about what happened to Charlie Kirk.
This is a source that I trust very much, and this is coming from the top levels of government. And they were having dinner with people, senators in the Senate Foreign Intelligence Committee. They are not openly saying this at this point.
Of course not.
But in private conversation, they're saying, hey, this looks like potentially Israel is behind this.
Wow.
And then in terms of getting to the actual evidence itself, a very close friend of Charlie Kirk's put out there. Charlie didn't want to put out this tweet himself, but he told a friend to put it out on the internet and said, hey, if I go against Israel, I think they will kill me.
And when did he say this?
This was August 13th.
So less than a month ago.
I can see Charlie over the last few months sort of take in new information and have his mind shift a little bit, right? He used to be an Israeli loyalist. Then he starts to sort of mildly criticize Israel in that, hey, I don't think, we shouldn't be allowed as an American to question the acts of a foreign government.
I have text messages, Megan, calling me an anti-Semite. I have less ability sometimes online to criticize the Israeli government about backlash than actual Israelis do. Mm-hmm. And that's really, really weird, isn't it, Megan?
And he publicly said, hey, maybe Epstein was Mossad. He certainly had a lot of connections to Israeli ex-prime ministers.
And there's also this clip where he questions how October 7th happened.
Was there a stand down order? 6 hours? I don't believe it. Israel's the size of New Jersey. When I took a helicopter ride from Jerusalem to the Gaza border, it's 45 minutes. 6 hours. They're live streaming the killing of Jews. Did somebody in the government say stand down? That is a legitimate, non-conspiracy question.
I mean, this is a big problem for Israel. Charlie Kirk was maybe the most influential figure on the right, especially with people under the age of 30. Mm-hmm. And when you start to have somebody that influential as a conservative is say, hey, we need to maybe reassess this relationship. There's something weird going on. This is a warning to people in the media to say, hey, you need to stop this right now because you could be next.
Alrighty.
I know it's way too soon to.
Okay. Silence. So, yeah, I mean, now I didn't come to the conclusion necessarily because of what he was saying, but it does bolster some of the things I looked up after listening to George Hobbs. And that is, if you look up the donation forms going into Turning Point, many of the people who are donating are clearly connected to Israel, and some of them are involved in ways that are connected to the CIA in our own country. And so I guess my point is that it is completely within the realm of possibility that this is don't bite the hand that feeds you. And maybe they didn't necessarily, truly take him out. I think George Hobbs seems to think they really did, based off, the wound, because you get hit in the jugular, you're gonna bleed like that, especially from a 30-06 round. And then, but even to me, it doesn't matter, even if it was faked. I mean, it does matter. I don't like the idea of anybody being killed. That's not what I mean. I mean, it doesn't matter in regards to what they're trying to achieve. They could spirit him off and he could go live, hidden away, whatever their plan was, I mean, they may have told him, you could either do it this way or we'll just wipe out your whole family. I mean, you look at like what happened to some of those people from NASA who didn't play ball, hit on the railroad tracks in their car mysteriously, couldn't get out, couldn't get away. And your government is fully capable of doing all of this and way worse. And I've documented much of that a number of different times. I don't know why people still trust our government and the mass media and a lot of other things. But I know a lot of it has to do with the fact that we are not sharing information like this enough. So share this video and let people know, because there's still many, many people who are completely asleep to this. And now let's get into this one here. This is not related to, at least not completely related to Charlie Kirk, but the reason I'm offering it is so that you know this world, you cannot trust what you're being told, okay, by your mainstream media sources, because they are controlled by the same people who bump people like this off and traffic drugs, children, people for various reasons, and even body parts. So here you go.
They got me. My dead man switch activated automatically after I missed 2 scheduled check-ins. I had it set up months ago because I knew this day was coming. I did not die by accident. I was murdered to keep their secrets buried. My name is Virginia Louise Giuffre. I was one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims. I survived Little St. James, but survival came at a price. I saw too much, knew too much, and now they've silenced me. But it's too late for them. They thought killing me would bury their secrets, but this video is going to a few organizations I trust, ones that have been exposing the truth for decades. You know who you are. It's your job to continue this fight. I was 16 when they reeled me in. I worked at Mar-a-Lago, folding towels, cleaning lockers. My father kept the tennis courts immaculate. We were just working folks trying to scrape by. Trump, he was around, but he was never the threat. The real predator was Ghislaine Maxwell, prim and proper, smiling, promising to teach me massage therapy at the Pink Mansion in Palm Beach. I had no idea I was being fed into a nightmare machine. Epstein's Island was hell disguised as paradise. You've heard some names linked to him, but those are just the sacrificial pawns. The real players, the ones they've protected at all costs, are still hiding in plain sight. I'll name 2 now. The first, a former U.S. president, Barack Obama. Publicly, he's revered. Privately, he was one of the worst. He wasn't there for the girls. He was there for the island boys. Young boys, trafficked and groomed. I saw him more times than I can count, always without his Secret Service detail, sometimes with his Hollywood friends, George Clooney and Tom Hanks. I still have nightmares about them, arrogant and drunk on power, slinking into the cabanas with kids barely out of childhood. The second, Bill Gates, the billionaire philanthropist, loved by the media, hailed as a savior. We called him the benefactor, and we used to dread seeing him naked. But he didn't come to party. He came to experiment. Genetic experiments, human experiments. I saw him inject a young girl with something they said was a genetic enhancement. She was younger than me, strapped to a table, terrified, treated like a lab rat while they muttered about seeding the future of the species. These men think they are gods, playing with life like it was theirs to own.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
I'm telling you now, Epstein isn't dead. They staged his death because he was too valuable. He held blackmail on some of the most powerful people on Earth. Files, videos, confessions. They couldn't risk him talking, but they also couldn't risk him gone, so they hid him. Stashed him under the protection of the same elite who once paid him to supply them with flesh. And they thought killing me would stop this from coming out. If you're watching this, it means they got.
All right. That, of course, is Virginia, who I believe was hit by a car, allegedly. I can't remember. Anyway, very interesting. I don't have time for this one, but it has to do with everything I just talked about, with it being a ritual. So we will ignore that one and go to this amusing gentleman. Let's get this right the first time. And I think you'll find this interesting. It's a short video. And anyway, give her a listen.
Hi, my name's John, and despite how upset I seem sometimes, I have no intention or desire to take my own life. Now let's talk about this fucking plane. So a private jet took off about 20 minutes, maybe less, after Charlie Kirk was shot yesterday, okay? People caught it. This is why they're gonna take the internet away from us. But while we have it still, let me show you. This is the jet, N8888KG. Do you notice how it's only made literally one flight this entire year? One flight. That's the only listed flight. Here's the website for the company it's registered under. Looks like they're scrubbing that shit. Here's the building where the company is registered, okay? There's all the companies associated with it. Again, here's proof that the registration is real, yada yada. Here's the distance between the airport where the private jet took off and where Charlie was shot. It's walking distance. And here's the guy who owns the jet. Okay, have fun. Hi.
All right, so his point is go do your research off of everything you just said. And anyway, I found that interesting. And I apologize for the language. I forgot that it had a bit of this and that from here and there. So again, apologies. That was an interesting one. And so this is another one that has to do with the government. And it has to do with money laundering. And the reason I'm showing it to you is so that you begin to understand the level of corruption and why you cannot trust them, even when they say they're just here to help. Okay? Let's get the volume going, and here we go.
This is going to make you sick, and you paid for it.
The wave of help is closer to being sent to help Western North Carolina recover from Helene.
Today, the State House passed a second round of relief that includes more than $450 million.
If you're like me, then you wonder where all this money goes. A recent audit found $27 million of taxpayer money that was spent on a laundry site near Asheville that served an average of 40 people a day. And the workers at the site were paid between $87 and $145 an hour plus per diem.
The company that the state contracted with is based in Galveston, Texas, and is a large corporation with specialties in disaster recovery.
At first glance, SLS, the company behind the laundry site, seems like a reputable contractor with a resume full of disaster relief projects all over the country. But when I dug deeper, I was shocked. $52 million for a field hospital that operated for a month and only saw 79 patients. $31 million for temporary shelters that were open for 3 days and only sheltered 52 people. $84 million for 3 emergency facilities in Florida that were never used. $21 million for a COVID ward that never saw a patient. I needed to understand how SLS kept landing these massive contracts, so I used AI to trace political donations linked to SLS projects. Buried beneath layers of affiliated companies, consulting firms, and vague federal filings, SLS had made large donations to the campaigns of politicians associated with some of their biggest contracts. It spent hundreds of thousands lobbying FEMA and other agencies on the federal level. Eventually, I dug so deep that the AI answered one of my prompts with a warning. This is...
Yeah. Warning, stop investigating. All right. And this has to do with a warning that was given prior to 9/11, and anyway, I'll play it for you so you can see what was said here. Well, we need sound though, so let me restart this. All right.
10th, 2001, the day before 9/11, the U.S. Army released an intelligence report that said that the Zionists were pros at carrying out terrorist acts that made it appear that it was done by Arabs.
Wake up, Americans.
You're about to be pulled into a war with Arabs, with the Muslim world, and you're going to be made to believe that something horrible that happened to you was done by the Muslims. But it wasn't done by the Muslims. It was done by a wild card, the Israeli Mossad, that's cunning and ruthless and can carry out attacks on Americans and make it look like Arabs did it. That's not my conspiracy theory. That's the U.S. Army report.
Published the day before 9/11.
You can call me any name you want to call me. That's a U.S. Army report. They warned us. They were telling us what Israel is capable of doing. The government, American society had not yet been conquered by the Zionists up to September 11. This country fell to Zionism on September 11, 2001. How did America fall so quickly and become Israeli-occupied territory? Because that's what we are. The United States of America is Israeli-occupied territory, the entire country. They took over the Congress, they took over the White House, they took over the Pentagon, they took over the CIA, they took over the Defense Intelligence Agency, they took over everything. They took over the American evangelical churches, they took over the news media, they took over cable television, they took over the whole country since 2001. How? How did they do it? Jeffrey Epstein. It's just that simple. September.
And what's interesting is this was a tactic that was used on them in the Old Testament, where I can't remember. Was it the Amalekites or no? Anyway, there was a group that wanted to bring down the Israelites, so they camped all their pretty women outside. To basically, it had to do with Balaam's donkey, and all that, where, long story short, they used women to bring them down, and, temptation and all of that. And, this is a very similar situation, but I think there's been, and it's not, I don't want to pick on just the Israelis, because it's more than them. There's an entirely different group, even beyond all of that controls all of it. And so it's just one of these things where, when you see this, when what he's saying, what's really being said is, we want a global government. The people who are doing things like, because I would say that he's not necessarily correct that it was just them, because we have the attack on the USS Liberty, where pretty much the same thing for the same motive. Take out a U.S. warship, blame it on the Arabs, get the Americans involved in helping them take over the Golan Heights. And sometimes you think that it's quite possible that a similar thing happened on October 7th. Because many people have pointed out with the Iron Wall and, soldiers with Israeli Galil rifles pretty much man that whole area, where you see one every few, every 10 yards, every 20 yards, there's a soldier. I don't know how you would manage to be able to pull something like that off, unless they wanted it to happen so they could do what they're doing. Just a thought, folks. You don't have to agree, and I get it. And then this last one. And this is just one more way I'm just pointing out to you that they can do what they want when they want and bring you down. But that doesn't mean to silence yourself. I'm just pointing out so you'll stop trusting what you hear in mainstream media, or from your government, because they lie to you constantly. And here's just more evidence of it. Oh, dadgummit, hold on.
Costa Rica.
Ariel, let me redo this. Boom.
Of Maker Dow, the crypto guy, who is in Costa Rica, and he tweets out that the CIA is running a child trafficking blackmail operation out of Costa Rica. If anything happens to me, I did not kill myself. And then 12 hours later, he tweets out, my girlfriend is working for the CIA. They're trying to plant child porn on my laptop. I would never kill myself. I'm not suicidal. And then the next day he wakes up floating. This is a billionaire in Costa Rica, a billionaire, a crypto self-made billionaire with billions of dollars. He just closed a deal worth like $316 million like 2 days prior. And then he ends up floating in front of his oceanfront condo in Costa Rica. Look at the CEO of MakerDAO, the crypto guy, who is in.
There you go. And I would just point out that this person right here is correct. I know you can't see it, but okay, so he said that his girl was a Mossad agent. So I can't speak to all of this with 100% certainty, and maybe I ought to give this is for entertainment purposes only, because I keep getting restricted, but all I know is what I experienced, that as soon as I started talking about any of this stuff, that my numbers went way down in my outreach. And then I had people messaging me, telling me, where have you been? Welcome back. I'm like, I haven't gone anywhere. So you're not getting your notifications, that I've posted some new material, because I guess I'm getting throttled. I don't know what to say. I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing, but the only way to overcome it is for you all to personally share it, because they're not going to, I guess. Unless I just silence myself completely on certain subjects, and I don't want to do that. Maybe what I can do is only talk about certain subjects in paid areas, but I'm trying to avoid paid areas, and I've even silenced commercials for a little bit, even though that's the only source of revenue I have without you guys financially supporting anything. And but I think I'm going to have to turn commercials on, or I won't have any outreach at all. So if you start hearing commercials again, it's because I have no other choice. It's my source of revenue from this. So anyway, you get the picture with all this, right? And I don't know what to tell you about Charlie Kirk, other than what I'm really watching for. I'm not so much interested in, did he really get shot? Who did it and all that. What I'm looking for now is, what are they going to try to do with it? What are the powers that be going to utilize this for? And I can tell you one thing, I do really believe that all of it is related to theological magic. And then secondly, we'll wait to see how that plays out with how their magic involving powers and principalities manages to give them permission in the spirit realm, and thus act on the earth in some way to bring about what they want, politically, legally, laws, whatever. I think it's going to involve massive surveillance, and they are trying to push a civil war narrative, and I think it's part of why we have National Guards people everywhere, because they knew they were going to push this. But we'll see. I hope I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, so it wouldn't be the first. I'm like you guys. I'm just a normal guy paying attention to these things, checking it out, and praying for discernment, and asking God to give me wisdom to see these things and keep my eyes open and my head on a swivel. And so you guys, be careful out there, is all I can say. Be careful, but still be bold for Jesus, and never stop obeying him and loving your neighbors. And if that means, well, it'll mean different things to different people. But I think part of loving your neighbor is sharing the truth and love and exposing darkness and evil. And that's what I do. So I will wish you all a awesome weekend. I cannot wait to sleep in past 5 a.m. tomorrow. It's one of the things I look forward to on a weekend. And I hope you guys have a good one, and Godspeed to all of you. And don't forget to tune in to the Doug Hamp Show, and like and share, subscribe. And we can beat these guys, right? And pray. Always pray. See you, folks.